I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. When you read that psalm, and you'll hear that psalm 1,000 more times in your lifetime. Think of Donna. She claimed that. I'd like to welcome you all here today. And again, I hope that this time together will be a lasting memory for you to remember Donna always.
I've come to the realization that as someone lives quite a long time, especially as they enter a church, become part of a church family, they also go through the journey of having many pastors that pastor their congregations where they have lived in the context of a church. So today we have a privilege, we have an honor to have Pastor Wayne Searson read to us a life sketch of a woman that has impacted more than just one life. By the way, every one of our lives has the potential to impact many, many lives. And if you doubt that reality, even if you doubt that reality, you are still impacting and influencing someone's life. So Pastor Wayne, please share with us a life sketch of Donna Beeren.
I want to thank Sally, because she's the one that wrote this life sketch, and I think you really did a good job with it, Sally. And Sharon and I had the privilege, as a pastor was saying, we were interim pastor here for only 8 months, and until they brought Howard and his family up from California. But what a privilege it was to be a part of this church and to know your mom and to love her and be loved by her. And so she was really a special person to Sharon and me. Donna Bess Deering, beloved mother, sister, wife, and friend. Donna was 82 years old when she left us. She was born March 26, 1939. She joined a loving family and was a fourth child born to her loving daddy, as she fondly called him, and to mother, John and Aletha Sprague. She had an older sister, Frances, an older brother, Lauren, Judy, and finally, after Donna, her little sister, Mary, that we see today, little sister Mary. She grew up in Havre, Montana, and reflecting back to her childhood, that while hard in many ways because of the economic depression, it was a simpler time filled with family, love, laughter, and togetherness. It was the time of poodle skirts. How many of you remember poodle skirts? Okay, you just dated yourself. You're not young anymore. Actually, I remember those too. Saddle shoes. Yeah, I remember that. And 50s music. Still remember all that. Donna married Boyd Hayes in Spokane, Washington, and the growing family eventually ended up in Seattle, where she raised her 4 children, Michael, Sally, Julie, and Darren. Donna worked all her life to provide for her family. She chose the caring profession as a nurse's aide and elder care administrative assistant at the Norse home in Seattle. This was fitting because Donna derived joy from caring for others, as she did all her life, and even was the loving caregiver prior to her passing of her youngest daughter, Julie, and Donna's late husband, Larry. And it's really true. She did have that kind of a caring heart. It really showed in Donna and the way she dealt with people. Donna was baptized into the Ballard Seventh-day Adventist Church in 1968, and thus began her lifelong devotion to God. I found that interesting because I was baptized into Green Lake, that's right next to Ballard, a few years before that. She had a lifelong devotion to God, sharing his love and the tenets of Adventism to all, especially those closest to her. She sacrificed to send all her children to Adventist schools because of her love for her kids and her fondest hope. And I want us to all hear this very clearly, her fondest hope, which was to see all her family and loved ones in heaven one day. And she will be. She'll be looking for all of us, hoping and waiting and wanting us to be there, a part of that resurrection and to live with Jesus for eternity together. Donna spent 10 years in sunny San Diego, then retired in 1993 and moved back to Seattle to be near family. She then migrated to Klamath Falls, Oregon to marry Larry Deering, who was the love of her life, and who brought Donna so much happiness and joy in her life. In 2009, Donna and Larry decided to move up to beautiful Deer Park and settle by her beloved sisters, Mary and her husband, Ron, plus Judy and her husband, Barney, as well as to be near her daughter, Sally, and other family. And thus commenced Mom's final chapter. She enjoyed reading and spending time with her family. She loved her church family as well and participated in activities at church and continued to always share her faith, hoping she could be used as an avenue to help others find God. This month, we had to tell dear Donna goodbye. What a privilege it was to know her, to look at her example as a guide to godly living, to hear her wise advice and enjoy her kindness, love, and compassion. We will miss Donna, gone but never forgotten, until we meet again.
On September 8th, 1932, born to this world was a little girl that would transform country music forever. In fact, those of my generation have never heard of her by name, but we recognize her songs very clearly. Tragically, at the age of 31, Patsy Cline perished tragically in a plane crash, but not before having written a song that inspired and moved the heart of Donna. And that song is entitled "Life is Like a Mountain Railroad." And so, is that going to be played? Okay. Is during the slideshow? Okay. Yes. Okay, do you guys have the video? Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Ed.
Life is like a mountain railroad with an engineer that's brave. We must make the run successful from the cradle to the grave. Watch the curve, the hills and tunnels. Never fall upon the throttle and your eyes upon the rail. Blessed Savior, thou wilt guide us till we reach that blissful shore where the angels wait to join us in that race forevermore. Blessed Savior, thou wilt guide us till we reach that blissful shore where the angels wait to join us in that race forevermore.
Sometimes that's very hard to see the memories, to see the photos, to reminisce about those times and to realize the reality of the moment that we live right now. There is one consistent photo, at least from what I saw, in my perspective here, is that Donna always had a smile. I've been to some funerals where they show the reel of someone's life, and sometimes they're not always smiling. And when you dive in a little bit more to the person's life, you realize that in those moments when they were not smiling, they couldn't because life was too hard. Life has a tendency of doing that. Becoming hard sometimes, becoming difficult, becoming unbearable. But one thing that you saw in the life of Donna is a smile, because she had something in her heart that transcended the difficulties and impossibilities and unbearableness of life. And that is a faith in God. In fact, there's one song that rightfully sums up the essence of what she has always believed. It's entitled, "It Is Well With My Soul." It's a song written by an author who, going through his own personal tragedy, was able to pen these words that have become immortalized in Christian churches all over the United States, and in fact, I would dare say, all over the world. A song that has moved hearts, changed hearts, transformed lives. And in this moment, I'd like to invite Lorna and Hannah to bless us with the special music of this song entitled, "It Is Well."
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. My sin, oh, the joy of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, oh my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight. The clouds be rolled back as a scroll. The trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. With my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul.
Per the request of Donna, she really wanted to have this memorial service in the fellowship hall. The fireside room is what we call it here at this church. And so in order to honor that request, we are going to take a short intermission where we are going to transfer our services from here to the fireside room where everything is ready. Just grab a seat, and when I see that everyone's seated down, we will continue our service. Okay, see you guys there in a little bit.
I'm doing the steps right.
Lost the circuit.